For years, I found myself constantly chasing approval. Every decision, every accomplishment, every tiny moment seemed to be filtered through the lens of what others might think. The likes on social media, the compliments at work, the nods of agreement in conversations, it all felt like fuel, necessary for my self-worth. At first, I didn't even realize how much I depended on external validation. It was so ingrained, so deeply rooted in my habits and thoughts, that it seemed normal, almost invisible. But as time went on, I began to notice a pattern. The satisfaction I felt from others' approval was fleeting, quickly replaced by anxiety, doubt, and a craving for more affirmation. One day, after a particularly exhausting effort to please everyone around me, I had a realization. Seeking external validation was a never-ending cycle. No matter how much I achieved or how many people praised me, it was never enough. The emptiness returned, sometimes even stronger than before. That's when I decided to make a change. I stopped looking outward for validation and started looking inward. At first, it was uncomfortable. The silence left in the absence of approval felt loud and unfamiliar. I'd post something online and resist the urge to check likes and comments. I'd make a decision for myself and purposefully avoid asking others for their opinions. It wasn't easy. My mind had been trained to look for signs that I was doing the right thing, that I was accepted, that I belonged. Without those signals, I had to sit with my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own judgments about myself. Gradually, I noticed subtle shifts. I became more aware of what truly mattered to me, what made me feel proud and fulfilled, independent of anyone else's opinion. I started paying attention to my own sense of accomplishment, not just the recognition I received from others. The process was challenging, but it was also liberating. I discovered that my self-worth didn't have to be dependent on others. It could come from within. As I stopped seeking external validation, my relationships began to change. Some people were surprised, even confused, by my new approach. I wasn't as quick to agree just to keep the peace. I wasn't as eager to go along with plans that didn't align with my values. I started setting boundaries, saying no when I needed to, and speaking up for myself. Some relationships deepened, built on mutual respect and authenticity. Others faded away, unable to withstand the shift. It was painful at times, but it also revealed who truly cared for me as I was, not as they wanted me to be. My confidence grew, not in loud, showy ways, but in quiet moments of self-assurance. I learned to trust my intuition, to make choices based on what felt right for me. I realized that I didn't have to explain or justify every decision. I owed it to myself to honor my own needs and desires. Work became a different experience too. Instead of constantly comparing myself to colleagues or seeking praise from supervisors, I focused on doing my best, learning from mistakes, and finding satisfaction in the process itself. I noticed that I was more creative, more willing to take risks, and less afraid of failure. The fear of judgment lost its grip on me, replaced by a curiosity about what I could achieve when I wasn't held back by self-doubt. Social media, once a major source of validation for me, became less important. I stopped measuring my worth by numbers on a screen. I started sharing experiences and thoughts that felt meaningful to me, not just what I thought would get the most attention. I took breaks from scrolling and comparing, and instead, I invested time in hobbies and activities that brought me joy offline. The pressure to present a perfect image faded, replaced by a sense of authenticity and self-acceptance. There were setbacks, of course. Old habits die hard, and there were moments when I slipped back into seeking approval. But each time, I reminded myself of the progress I'd made. I practiced self-compassion, acknowledging that change is a journey, not a destination. As I continued on this path, I discovered the peace that comes with self-acceptance. I began to appreciate my strengths and acknowledge my weaknesses without shame. I realized that I was enough, just as I was, even if no one else noticed or applauded. The need for external validation didn't disappear entirely, but it lost its power over me. My mental health improved. The anxiety that once accompanied every decision, every interaction, began to fade. I felt lighter, freer, more at ease in my own skin. I slept better, laughed more, and found joy in simple moments. I realized how much energy I had spent trying to be what others wanted, and how much more alive I felt when I focused on being true to myself. New opportunities opened up. Without the fear of rejection or the need for approval, I took on challenges I would have once avoided. I started a new project, reached out to people who inspired me, and explored interests I had long ignored. I realized that the only permission I needed was my own. In time, I noticed that my relationships, work, and creativity all benefited from this shift. People responded to my authenticity, and I attracted connections based on genuine respect and understanding. I became a better listener, more empathetic and present, because I was no longer preoccupied with how I was being perceived. Letting go of external validation didn't mean I stopped caring about others or disregarded feedback. It meant I learned to filter input through my own values and beliefs, accepting what resonated and letting go of what didn't. I became more discerning, more resilient, and more peaceful. The journey isn't over. I still have moments of doubt and insecurity. But now, I face them with a new perspective. I remind myself that validation from others can be nice, but it's not essential. My worth comes from within, from living in alignment with my values, from embracing my true self. This ongoing journey has taught me that self-worth is not a destination, but a continuous process of nurturing and acceptance. Each day presents new challenges, moments when old habits resurface, or when criticism stings more than it should. Yet, I return to the practices that ground me, reflecting on what truly matters to me, setting boundaries, and choosing kindness toward myself. With patience and persistence, I've found a deeper sense of purpose, allowing me to move forward with greater clarity and peace. In the end, stopping the search for external validation was one of the most transformative decisions I've ever made. It taught me that freedom, confidence, and fulfillment are not found in the opinions of others, but in the quiet certainty of knowing who you are and honoring that every single day. Blessings and peace.